All right, we're starting.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, hey guys, welcome back. It's my podcast, Neil's podcast, episode 3. I'm here with Jay
The
from
man, the myth, the legend.
the Man, the Myth, the Legend. Yes, yes. So we'll be talking about life as the main topic for today, and we'll start off with our guest Jay. So Jay,
That's
what are
me.
you currently doing, and are you working or studying or both?
I am. I'm not working on anything like stable, but I am
Ah,
working
okay.
on some projects. And yeah, just working through my last year of high school and trying to work on some projects to see if I can kickstart my adult life in a meaningful way.
True, true, true. It's good to hear. And we were discussing this before the podcast, or like many times before this podcast, like how it is so difficult to decide what you want to do as a career or just in general with life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you
Huh.
got to understand like how you want to pick it, right? Do you want to pick
Yeah,
something that pays the bills, or do you want to pick something you want to do, or do you want to find a balance where like the stuff you want to do pays the bills, you know?
yeah.
It's unfortunate that for a lot of people, though, what they want to do doesn't pay the bills, so they have no
Oh
choice
yeah,
but to do it.
true, true.
But I don't know. I
And so,
just feel like if you keep going, push through it, eventually it's gonna pay the bills, right?
yeah, I believe that too.
You can
Because
monetize anything at this point.
yeah, yeah, true. Especially with
2021.
its it's digital revolution. I mean,
Exactly.
people make monies out of. I mean, not money, but like people get scammed with NFTs. Have you heard of them?
Oh yeah,
Oh my gosh, you could just take a screenshot of it. It's ridiculous.
bro. I'm not gonna cap you. My mom wanted me to make NFTs,
Really?
make money off of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, look, bro. If you're scamming the rich, is it really scamming, or is it just collecting your dues? Right?
Oh, true, true. It's like modern art scam.
Exactly. I
Well,
mean, bro, some motherfuckers sell like. Have you seen that thing with that chick that sold like a painting or like a bed? It was like a bed. It was like an art exhibit, and it was a
yeah.
bed where she like pissed on it. She like threw up on it, bled on it, and then
No,
she
I
sold
have
it for
not
like
seen
millions
that.
of dollars.
I have
It's
not
like,
seen that.
bro,
No.
who the fuck buys that? Why would you buy that?
I don't know, man. Rich people. It reminded me of what's that name? That rapper Drake. His album art cost him like I think of like a few million or something, and it was just emojis. Like, what the fuck?
Yo, I didn't know he fucking paid that much for it. Holy shit. That that is so stupid, bro. If I
That
could get
is.
paid for wetting my bed, bro, I'd be fucking rich right now. Holy fuck.
Oh man. But yeah, for me, I'm not working or studying. I was studying before, but I had to withdraw from my recent course because I didn't want to relapse with my mental illness,
Mm.
and it was the best choice to do. And
So what are you
well,
doing right now?
oh, just trying to get healthy, like both physically and mentally. It's not
Good.
easy because I have bipolar and like it's like ups and downs basically. Sometimes you get
Yeah.
like, well, most of the time for me it's like it's depression, and there will
Hmm.
be some states of like mania, but not to an extent where I was like delusional like before.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
think actually that's very important because there's a lot of people that think that you constantly need to like move like financially in your life, right? Like you constantly need to either be studying or like working, right?
yeah,
But it's equally as important to just take breaks to like catch up with yourself and make
yeah,
sure you keep yourself in check, make sure you're doing well mentally and physically. Because I mean, working and studying is just not going to work if you're not, you know,
on par,
keeping in
yeah,
touch with yourself. Yeah.
yeah,
If you're not good mentally or physically, it's just not going to work. And people believe that. Some people think that, oh my God, you're not working, not studying, you're not doing anything with your life. But no, you're doing a lot with your life, you know?
yeah,
It's not all about working. You know, life is not
yeah,
about work. It's about living life to the fullest. And you can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself.
yeah. I agree. And like, um, what was it called? But yeah, like, cause I just can't sleep most of the time. Like as I told you as well before, like it's hard trying to balance like well most of the time it's just the internet addiction. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention this with what
What?
is it called? Yeah, I wanted to tell you about my idea of revolutionizing the world, like through like well, it's either a renaissance or revolution, whatever you want to call it. It's like I have a document about it, but the way I approached it, this document, because I wanted to make the world a better place through like through through content creation.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be easy. I'm still lobbying to the government till this day. I'm still waiting for the response. It's still being processed to the state government, and like
Yeah.
it's just about education, right? I wanted to reform the education system, specifically the high school one, because it failed me, man. Because well, you see, did I tell you about this when well, I never got my high school certificate.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, yeah, it's because what happened was um because I was diagnosed with mental illness in 2016, and shit just went downhill. When I was diagnosed with mental illness, it was like either schizophrenia or psychosis, and
Yeah.
I was so depressed. I was like, I wanted to kill
I
myself.
can't
I
imagine
almost
that.
ran away. I mean, I even told you the part where like I can't believe I did this, but I prayed to the devil and like
Yeah, yeah.
shit, man. Sure, it doesn't make sense when it happened, but it made sense later on
I
when
mean,
like
you got to look at the upside. You
yeah.
could have became Ghost Rider.
Can read Ghost Rider. Yeah, or something like Spawn.
Something like that. I may be
Yeah.
talking to Ghost Rider right now. I don't even know it. You're hiding it from me.
But yeah, like what happened? Nothing happened when I prayed to the devil. But like I basically my prayer was that I die in my sleep, and if he appeared to me in the dream or a nightmare, that means I'm dead. That means and like he didn't show up. But what happened months later? I did get nightmares of me basically getting tortured or raped by demons. At one point, I had sex with a succubus or some shit like that. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? It was fucking wild, man. And then,
Holy shit.
yeah, man, like,
That's why I don't fuck with that.
yeah, yeah. But this was
Yeah, no.
like after like high school, because this was like after 2017. Um, I also did start to get like hallucinations. Well, not really, but like short, very short and brief hallucinations. I call them illusions. For
Yeah.
like in my vocational college, I saw like a wizard, right? But
Yeah.
he had no face. He was just wearing a hood. He was wearing white and gold robe and had a staff. And he's just walking down the corridor while I'm in my vocational college. I'm just like staring at him. Like, the fuck?
You're like, is anyone else seeing this? What the fuck is that? Why is Gandalf here?
But no, man, the scariest one is probably in the house, cause there was this I think it was like 3 feet or 4 feet high. This shadow figure in my young brother's room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it had claws, large claws for its feet, right? And then it had
Yeah.
a really long beak, and it was in the dark, and it turned out to be just bags and shoes. The other one was a pale lady or white lady, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's renowned in Philippine mythology. I don't know how it ended up in my house. Do you guys have that as well in Latin America, where like there's like a pale lady or lady wearing a white dress or something?
I don't. We have one that's similar, I think, which they actually made a movie about it, La Llorona. I don't know if you heard
Oh
about it.
yeah, I've heard about that.
Which
Yeah.
is basically just, I think it's this apparition, like you hear like a lady like crying, and then it's like a lady without one leg, like she only has one leg and like a wedding gown. I think it's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
similar. I think.
Yeah. But man, but lucky they don't interact with me. These hallucinations. Well, before that
You
was.
know what my mom always told me?
Yeah.
because she always says that she has like a sixth sense, right, where she can
Yeah.
like feel presences, right? It's
Yeah.
like when she was younger, she used to like she said this one time she went to like her house and she was home alone and she saw a bunch of people just having dinner at her house.
Wow.
And then she found out later that they were actually like deceased family members that she had never met, like her grandparents or some shit like that. And
Whoa.
then also when her
Yeah.
sister her sister died when she was 14,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
and she said that her sister was actually having like visions of like her grandma, like being who was deceased, being there with her in
Oh.
the room. And my mom said that she also like she could see like my grandma like at her like room in the hospital,
Yeah.
and also and a bunch of shit like that. But she also told me this one thing that her sisters and her cousins used to always see at night, and it was they were sleeping and they would feel something scratching their back, and they would turn around and it would be like she describes it as a goblin, right?
Yeah.
Like almost like a leprechaun looking thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they would wake up and they would actually have scratches on their back. I remember as a kid that would terrify the fuck out of me because I'd be like, "What if they come for me? I don't want to see no goblin or nothing." You know,
Yeah.
honestly, I could deal with anything but a fucking goblin. Don't throw me a fucking goblin. I can't deal with that.
Man. Speaking of supernatural, have you ever experienced out of body what's it called? No, astral projection. Because I have. Have you experienced it,
That's
Jay?
the thing where you like what exactly is it?
It's like your spirit leaves your body basically, and you see your body, and you either move around throughout the outside of your body, like in the room. But I've never heard of people or read where like they've moved so far from their body that it's like it's a different place. But like
No, I haven't.
for me, my what happened was this was in 2013, right? I was eighth
Mhm.
grade, and my and I saw my body while my spirit flew up. Yeah, I was like going up to the ceiling into
Yeah,
the and like it was just turning white, like the light, right? I was like, oh
yeah.
my gosh. Like, hey, look, I'm going to heaven, and then my mom's calling me. Oh my god! I'm like, oh man, I thought I was going to heaven. I woke up.
Ah,
Fuck, is that?
fuck.
Oh shit, man! It's fucking. I was like, of course, most people wouldn't believe me because even in the people like the teacher, like many years later, I told them, I think you're crazy, and they were like, come on, man, it's a fucking phenomenon, man. Astral
Yeah.
projection.
No, to me, like I always was a skeptic for most of these things, right?
Yeah,
But like that skeptic that like I was like, okay, logically that doesn't make sense, but deep down I was like, I'm terrified because I kind of believe that it's real, right? Like with ghosts and shit, I'm like, okay, they probably don't exist, but I'm always terrified of them because I'm like,
what if they
they
do?
very well might, because it also makes sense that they would, because like science tells you that this shit doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah,
But at the same time, it's like, okay, science gives you an explanation of what the world is like, but at the end of the day, we really know nothing about where we're
yeah,
at
yeah.
or
True,
why we're
true. I
here
agree.
or how. So if we don't know shit, it might as well be that.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to discount that possibility. And so and also recently I told you about like all the weird shit that's been going on in my house.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm like, okay, sometimes like when I hear stories of ghosts from other people, I'm like, oh, you probably like, you were probably paranoid at the moment, so when something happened, your brain kind of went to conclusions, right?
yeah,
But after experiencing it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of really fucking weird. I mean, I have no way of explaining this because I was actually watching a video
yeah,
um, where they were talking about this, and one of the dudes said that he doesn't believe in ghosts because he thinks that whenever like something ghostly happens to people, it could
yeah,
easily be explained to something else, but people just kind of jump to conclusions. But I'm like, okay, but there's some things that you just can't. Like I was talking to my brother and my mom
yeah.
at my dinner table, and that cup just almost went flying, right? Like I would
Mm.
understand if it was like in a slope and it just like sloped down.
Yeah,
Like sure, that makes sense
yeah.
physically.
Logic. Yeah,
But how the fuck is a cup about to move like a few good inches across a like completely flat surface, right? Without anyone touching it. Was it a gust of wind? Because
it can't.
it was a pretty heavy mug.
Yeah,
And then also the shit where I hear like people opening doors and walking across when no one's home is like, how are you gonna explain that? What is it? Fucking what is it? Charles Darwin went in and fucking started fucking you science man. I don't
So,
fucking know, bro.
nah, but like I kind of get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Like I just don't understand how some of my relatives don't believe in ghosts or like supernatural. I'd say, but to me, I apply the science into this like supernatural stuff because, well, according to some theories that the what's it called, theoretical physicists, the universe is, well, observable universe is like 11 dimensions, and
Yeah,
like the higher, it's just like it's just hard to fathom what goes beyond the third dimension.
yeah.
Because you can imagine like if you can, if you can't really tell because like what it is, because it's so hard to explain.
Exactly, and that's how I feel like that supernatural shit that I was talking about, where it's like, we don't know anything about this at the end of the day. I feel like that's also where it applies to science as well. They tell
Yeah,
you there's like who knows how many dimensions, right?
yeah,
But while they can explain, maybe based on their own stipulations, they can explain exactly how they came to that conclusion. They
yeah,
might not be able to explain to you exactly how all those dimensions work, right?
yeah,
And
and
it's in
why?
that I start thinking we really don't know anything about where we are, or what how we exist, why we exist, where we
Yeah,
exist, right? We don't know anything about that, and even science comes up with conclusions, and they can tell you exactly how they came to them, but sometimes they can't explain the actual conclusion because it can't be explained, right?
yeah,
There's it's very vague, and that's why I feel like people who just blindly believe in just science, right?
yeah. It's
It's like a lot of these people who believe in just science, they like look at religious people and like, oh, you're stupid, you're just believing stuff that they told you, but you're literally doing the same shit.
yeah. I
Because
agree.
you're no physicist, you don't understand everything that goes into this article that you read. You
Yeah,
just took it for face value and were like, oh yeah, the universe works like that. I read it on an article. It's the same thing as a religious person saying, oh yeah, if you sin, you go to hell. It says so in the Bible, right? Even though
yeah,
the Bible actually doesn't say that, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, now that I think about it, the Bible really never says most of the things that people like claim it does.
yeah,
Like the Bible doesn't actually really state that if you like commit these sins, you like go straight to hell. In fact, the Bible kind of says that you'll be forgiven
yeah.
as long as you're repentant. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's weird.
But
But
speaking
yeah,
of beliefs or religion and politics or science, I should say, it's like, well, from the skeptics or the atheists, like, or people who believe in science, like they just think that religion is just like believing something like I don't know, like an old man in the sky or something like that. But it's beyond that, you know. It's like
yeah,
it's a big. They're not looking at the bigger picture. Like it's for some, it's a way of life. Like
yeah,
it teaches you how to live life. Like you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's like what I've noticed with society, like nowadays, is like, you
yeah,
know how there's mukbang videos.
yeah,
Yeah. How come no one's doing fasting videos? Mm. How
yeah.
come anyone can eat large amounts of food in short amounts of time? But have you tried fasting for hours, if not days?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
kid you
That would be
not.
great fucking content. Just watch someone sit down for like
And
12
like,
hours.
and like, like it's like, well, maybe just Western society, I guess, is falling because it's in a way like it's falling into like godlessness
Yeah.
in a way. It's just so much sin and like, well, not sin, but like carnal desires, I'd say, and like
I don't feel like it's falling into godlessness. I just feel like the gods are shifting. I feel like people are putting the
values.
the value that like for example used to be put into God way
Oh
back
yeah, I
when,
know
and
what you
some
mean.
people still
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
into a
yeah,
lot of things. One is the one that we were talking about, science, right? A lot of people, like, I mean, if you think about it, right?
yeah,
There's really no difference. People back then used to think that, like for example, like all these natural phenomena were like God or like Zeus or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they attributed like ultimate truth and ultimate power to that God. And nowadays, people explain natural phenomena with science, and they attribute all the truth and all the power to the truth that science brings, right?
Yeah.
So it's literally the same concept.
Principle.
It's just
Yeah.
people who believe in like science mostly
Yeah.
claim that it's the absolute truth because they can prove how they come to conclusions, right?
Yeah.
And whereas most people who are religious don't, they can't. In
Yeah.
fact, you shouldn't in most religions because most religions depend on faith, which is completely antithetical with proof, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in the Bible, it literally states that um, it is actually a sin to try to prove that Jesus exists and try to prove that he doesn't, right?
Oh, really?
Because yeah, the Bible says that it's improper to try to prove his existence because you're supposed to just have faith that he does. You're supposed to believe it deep in your heart that he does, and you shouldn't try to prove it because trying to prove it is trying to test God, right?
Interesting. I've never heard of this. I'm
So
hearing this
there's a
now.
lot of religions that are actually antithetical with trying to prove its existence because they value other things. They value the heart, right? Like
Yeah.
how strong are you that you can believe something for your entire life without
Yeah.
any proof, but you
Yeah.
can find solace in that, right?
Yeah.
But it's basically the same thing. Like science, like the belief, like the absolute belief in science is almost just a religion in itself,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
There's a set of rules, there's a higher power,
Yeah.
there's even a lifestyle, which is basically living by the scientific method in a way, which is always living in a way that you are trying to prove your own life, basically, when you believe
Yeah.
in science.
Yeah. I get you. But yeah, I don't know what you mean. Man, that was an eye opener.
Yeah. But anyway, back on track. So you're moving out next year, right?
Yes, I'm moving out, and oh my gosh, man, I'm excited and also nervous because I don't know, because like I haven't experienced doing these basic chores in my life. That's why I'm moving out so I can learn. But at the same time, I'm nervous because, well, my friend, he's I don't know if he's Muslim already or he's he's becoming Muslim, which I don't
Yeah.
mind. I don't mind. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being Muslim. But when you say like, when you want to say like, convert to this religion or whatever, he didn't say that though. But he just said like, I would like it. I would like it. He said something by the lines of, I would prefer that you walk in the same footsteps with me or like walk along with me in this journey. Like, I can't just convert to a religion in an instant just because you tell me to. It's like,
Yeah. It's not.
yeah, it's not that easy, man. Like, I have to like I don't mind like learning the culture and the religion, but you can't tell me to convert to that religion like in an instant, man. Like, seriously.
Yeah. And it's precisely because of that we were talking about. Religion is something so deeply personal
Yeah.
and like based on belief that you can't just force yourself to start believing something you don't. Right? It's something that you come to terms with and you realize I think I believe this. I genuinely believe this, and this is what makes me feel happy, right? You
Yeah.
can't just be like, oh, you know what? I am Muslim now because I fucking hate pork. You can't do
Yeah.
that.
It's basically like you have to experience it, whereas like in science you have to prove it or disprove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just trial
Just
and error.
exactly. And that's life. Trial and error. Just
Yeah.
just see what works, see what doesn't. And then move on. Be Spider-Man. You know?
Be
You
Spider-Man.
get knocked down, you get back
Yes.
up.
That's
Get
the
knocked down, get back up,
superhero.
and that's the move
The
through
what's it
life.
called? The hero's journey.
Exactly. And you know
Yes,
what? We're all Spider-Man.
indeed, because we're all heroes in our own
Yo,
life.
bro. When are you watching Spider-Man, by the way?
I haven't.
But when are you watching it?
Oh, when with my friend, the one I'm moving out with.
Yeah, but
But
when?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure when, but maybe
Shit.
soon.
'Cause, bro, if you,
Yeah.
we need to do a podcast episode about that shit, bro. Just an
Sure.
entire podcast. I just know that movie's about to be so packed with content. We can make a whole like 10-hour episode about that shit.
I want to talk about that as well, cause did you see the latest Venom? Like,
Yeah,
did
yeah,
you
yeah,
see?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ending. Yeah, I don't know if his.
I
his
honestly no. Here's my predictions for No Way Home.
okay, okay,
Toby,
okay.
Andrew are gonna be in it, and
Yeah.
Venom is gonna be in it. Um,
Oh my god.
and I also think maybe we might see a symbiote suit for Spider-Man at some point throughout that film. Not in the same way as we did in Spider-Man 3, because
Oh
Venom
yeah.
is a different beast now, right? He's not just a
Yeah.
like this mindless beast that corrupts people. He's like a proper character. And
Yeah.
and he's pretty much married to fucking Eddie Brock at this point. But I think it might be like a situation where it's like in order to help out Spider-Man, he like goes into him to like help him out. I think that's how it might
Oh, that's
go.
a good
And I am pretty
prediction.
fucking excited for that movie, bro. I'm watching it
That's
tomorrow. That's just gonna be so hype. Oh, and you know,
fuck.
actually, I think that that movie is very important. And for this topic we're talking about today, you know, just growing up and living life, you know, and
Yeah.
moving through life. Because I feel like Spider-Man is almost the thesis. I say if you like read the comics and watch the movies and everything, there's two theses that you can find
Yeah.
within Spider-Man, and one. I mean, the thesis for Into the Spider-Verse, I feel like is the thesis for Spider-Man, which is everyone can be Spider-Man, right? Anyone can put on the mask. Um, not by being a superhero, but just by being Spider-Man, like what it means to be Spider-Man, getting back up when you get down, right?
Oh yeah, being a
Struggling but being
hero.
hopeful through that struggle, right? But
Yeah.
also, I feel like another thesis that Spider-Man brings, right, with it
Yeah.
as well, is that, or actually, I think like it's related almost, because if you think about it, like superheroes are usually really, really non-relatable, right? I can't fucking relate to Superman, right?
Same.
I'm
Same.
not I'm not a fucking alien who can destroy everything, but Peter Parker's a dude that he's
Yeah.
just a dude with a
He's just a young.
superpower.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, I think that the have you played the Spider-Man PS4 or
No, I
PS5 now?
haven't, but I played the original one on the Xbox, the second Spider-Man one.
Oh, Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
That one's good, but like Spider-Man PS4 is like better,
Yeah,
just better
of
in
course,
every
it's
way.
more,
But
it's modern. Yeah, yeah.
but I feel like Spider-Man PS4 is the best Spider-Man movie as well as the best Spider-Man game, because it represents, I feel like it represents everything that Spider-Man and Peter Parker should be. And I feel like it does it so well because it shows you a way more human side of Peter Parker as well, right? Like the game starts with literally you like looking at your room and deciding whether you should pay rent or go catch Kingpin, right? You're like, shit, I don't know
Oh,
which one. And then you decide to go for Kingpin, and then in the like, you know, at some point in the game, in the early game, you end up getting evicted. And and literally there's a whole mission where it's you trying to find out where you're gonna sleep tonight and trying to find your stuff that got taken away in the eviction,
yeah,
right? It's just
yeah,
that, and those are the human moments of Spider-Man, you know? It doesn't focus on like fighting bad guys or anything. It focuses
yeah,
on the dude behind the mask who's is very important. Spider-Man is the most human superhero. He's not an
yeah.
Avenger or
The
anything.
human
He's a
elements. Yeah,
yeah, he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that
yeah,
goes to show people that not only can everyone be Spider-Man because this random dude who doesn't have his life together can be Spider-Man, right? But because
true.
it also proposes like the thesis that everyone struggles through life, right?
Yeah,
But that one like little bit of hope that you cling on to is what gets you through it, right? And
mm,
that is the thesis of Spider-Man. I feel like that is very important when you're growing up, you know, especially as a teenager, right? When
yeah,
like every emotion when you're a teenager is like the end of the fucking world, right? It's
yeah. I agree.
catastrophic. Like
It
if
is.
something happens that's even remotely sad, it's immediately the worst thing that has ever happened to you, and
Yeah,
your life is in shambles, right?
I agree.
And and if something good happens, it's immediately the best thing that's ever happened to you, and you don't ever want to let go of it because it's so amazing, right? Every
Yeah,
emotion is heightened so much that it can become a little bit too much to handle sometimes for people,
true.
because when things happen and you emotionally can't handle them because you're a teenager, I
Yeah,
feel like clinging on to that little bit of hope that you're still growing up as a person and that you're always learning, and that as a teenager you're not a complete human. That's what helps you
Mhm.
move on and helps you like really find yourself in your adult life.
His hope,
Yeah.
hope, courage.
Sorry, I went a whole Spider-Man tangent, but
Nah,
I
it's
can't
alright,
help
man. It's
myself.
alright. It's all good. But I like what you said. Like it's like him. It's not about him as like a superhero. It's him as a human being. Like the human
Yeah.
elements, which frankly, well, I think they're which is why it's worth the hype as well, cause it's relatable. It's not
Yeah.
like the Avengers. Like they just save the day. Well, he is an Avenger, but like the main
But the thing is,
characters of the Avengers.
he's not an Avenger. He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who sometimes saves the universe, right?
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
comics and stuff like that. But he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
yeah,
And it like, do you mind spoilers for that game?
yeah. Sure, I don't mind.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert for anyone listening.
Yeah.
But so you meet Miles Morales in the game, right?
Okay.
And you mentor him in how to
I
become
see.
Spider-Man because you meet him when he's not, and you meet him both as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker, but he doesn't know you're the same dude. And then he gets
Oh.
bit by the spider, and then you mentor him as Spider-Man, right? But one of the things that I love the most about that is that it highlights the values of being Spider-Man, what it means to be Spider-Man, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like that's the thesis of that game. What does it mean to be Spider-Man, right? Because when you
Mm.
mentor Miles, you don't mentor him in how to swing across the skyline, right? You
Yeah.
don't mentor him in how to fight like the biggest bad guy, right? You
Yeah.
sure you dabble in that, but what you're teaching him really as Peter Parker is what it means to be Spider-Man. You're not teaching him you need to fight all the bad guys and be stylish. You're
Yeah.
teaching him every time you get down, you need to get back up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You need to teach him with great power comes great responsibility.
Mhm.
You need to teach him it's your duty to save people. You have the power to save people, thus you have the responsibility to save them. And you're teaching him everything it means to be Spider-Man. And you only really see Miles like completely internalize those things at the end of Spider-Man Miles Morales, right?
Yeah.
Where like I'm not going to spoil anything, but he faces odds that are almost impossible to beat, but he
Oh, okay.
keeps going and he keeps going. And it's physically and
Mm.
metaphorically
Yeah.
pushing him down to the ground, but he keeps getting up and he keeps getting up and he keeps getting up until he finally does it. He makes it. And that's when he learns what it means to be Spider-Man. It's through anything you keep pushing on because I mean if you think about it, everyone who has donned the mantle of Spider-Man has been faced with like a good bit of tragedy, right?
Of
I
course.
mean Peter Parker, his relationships are fucked. Uncle Ben,
Yeah.
his financial situation's not good. Miles Morales lost in the comics his mom and his dad, his
Yeah.
dad first, then he lost his mom, right?
Yeah.
Lost a bunch of stuff. But it's just keep like putting on the mask no matter what, even though it might hurt, right? Just keep putting
Yeah.
on the mask, keep going out there and keep working to better the world and better yourself, right?
Yeah.
And and honestly, that's why I feel like Spider-Man I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe did it right and did it wrong in some ways. Because I feel like Spider-Man is the quintessential superhero for young people, right? But in making him a 15-year-old in like Civil War and like you see him growing up, I think he's like 17 in No Way Home or something like that, right? Maybe 18.
Oh, okay.
Seeing him grow up, it's like he's very relatable to children, right? And to
Yeah.
teenagers. So because he is a young teenager when we
Yeah.
first see him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we see him later he's just a teenager, and what that gives people like children especially and teenagers is a way to relate to someone who they should learn from.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is a very very good superhero for children to learn from, not
Mm.
Superman, not Superman in my opinion, because Superman shows you that who can be a superhero. Oh, space aliens with superpowers, right?
Yeah.
But Spider-Man teaches you that who can be a superhero, literally anyone, because Peter Parker's a normal ass dude, right? He's
Yeah.
no alien. He doesn't have. all this bullshit that Superman has. Sure, he has superpowers, right?
Yeah.
But if you like nothing like super out there, he can't fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes. He's
Yeah.
simply actually, if you think about it, he's just a better version of a human. He's just stronger, right, more resistant. His
Yeah.
senses are on point, right? So it just
Yeah.
shows you that he's still a dude. He doesn't have anything extraordinarily superhuman. He
Yeah.
can't do anything that physically a human couldn't do conceivably, right?
Mm.
Um, Even the webs in most iterations of Spider-Man, they're web shooters. He doesn't like shoot them out of his fucking wrists. Um, but it teaches you that, and by making it a young superhero that children can look at and relate to, it makes it so they can connect with the ideas that Spider-Man brings and all the knowledge that you can gather from it and all the virtues and values that you learn from Spider-Man, so the
Yeah.
children can learn it. But I also feel like they dropped the ball on that at the same time, Marvel with the MCU,
Oh,
because they
really?
make him grow up too fast. I mean, the first
Oh,
time you see him, he's fighting the Avengers. And then like
true.
the next time you see him, he's chilling, being Spider-Man. And then the next time you see him, he's literally saving the universe from Thanos, right? So it's
Mm.
like you like a child can't look at that and be like, "Oh, that's me." Cuz no the fuck that's not you. You're not in a spaceship fighting this massive purple guy who's going to destroy the universe, right? No. But if you look at Spider-Man and he's just swinging around helping people on the street, right?
Yeah.
You see someone who you could be. You could go out there and help some people, right?
Yeah.
You could easily, you and me, we could go out there right now and help some kids who are getting bullied or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
that's the Spider-Man that you can learn from. The other Spider-Man is someone who you can't learn from. You can enjoy and be entertained by him, but you can't really learn from a dude fighting Thanos because what the fuck am I supposed to do about that?
Hmm.
God, I love Spider-Man. My bad, but holy fuck, he's so cool.
That's alright. What were we
You
talking
know,
about before this?
wait, hold up. Do you know Spider-Man becomes Ghost Rider at one point in the comics?
Really?
Yeah, but it's a different Spider-Man from a different
Oh, okay.
universe.
I know.
The Amazing
I
Spider.
watched a video about one of the iterations of Spider-Man. He becomes like a version of Iron Man or something like that. Like he has his own car and all these
Yeah,
gadgets and
there's like
whatnot.
a fucking there's like a trillion iterations of like pretty much
Yeah.
every superhero. But that one Spider-Man who became Ghost Rider, he actually did so because it was a punishment. Like,
Oh, okay.
because he used to kidnap other Spider-Men from different realities and like kill them and steal their powers to become more powerful.
Yeah.
Um, and so he sacrificed himself before killing Peter Parker from like the Prime universe, and
Oh,
then
okay.
he got sent to hell to be tortured.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Banner, who's Hulk, right? But Bruce
Yeah.
Banner as Doctor Strange, because Bruce Banner became Doctor Strange in that universe.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, he like gave Spider-Man like a second chance, but like at life, but he was like as punishment, he was to become Ghost Rider.
Oh,
When he
okay.
came back. But yeah, it's
See.
fucking cool, dog. But anyway, yeah, moving out and stuff.
Moving out, man. It's not easy, bro. And
It's
plus, like,
not.
it's like life just in general is so hard. Just trying to figure out what you want to do and what you want to become
Yeah,
and how you're gonna do it. You know,
yeah.
it's not like
That's the sad part about life.
yeah,
Spend too much time figuring out how to live it that you kind of forget to do it.
yeah. It really is. Did I tell you about what is it called? Nah, I don't want to talk about it. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it. It's regarding a special someone. Maybe it's too confidential for her.
Okay.
Like, cause they might be watching this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Might, yeah. But like, I'll just say this. It was a long distance relationship. Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I mean, we're still friends, but like, we're not together. You know, as like
Yeah.
girlfriend boyfriend. Yeah. We went from like um 2000. We met on Omegle in 2017, late 2017, and we only became like together in 2018, and we stopped dating earlier this year because of my
Oh,
mental illness. Yeah,
it
yeah,
lasted pretty long though.
yeah. I gotta admit, it's probably I still count it as a relationship. But if I ever get into a relationship, like an actual real relationship, not on a long distance one, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't mention that. I would if they asked,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was. I mean, like the, the dynamic we have till this day is pretty good because like we're still friends, like even though we're like
yeah,
exes and shit. But
yeah, which is always nice, because a lot of people end up messing up just a relationship, and I don't talk like I'm not talking about like a romantic relationship. It's just like you go from dating someone to just completely ruining a perfect friendship just because like things didn't go right in the breakup.
yeah,
But it's nice. It's nice that you still talk and you're
yeah,
friends and stuff. Because that means that you guys care about each other, even if it's not, you guys are not together. You're still really good friends.
yeah,
There's still value in each other.
yeah. And that brings me back to the topic of moving out because I'm worried of my best friend in real life if things don't turn out well.
But so, how far away are you moving?
Oh,
Like
just a few
considerably
suburbs
far?
away. It's probably like,
Oh,
well, let me count. So like 3 stations away. Not that
well, you
far.
should. I mean, like, what are you worried about? That like you're not gonna be
Just
there for them?
no, just the drama between us, like potential drama, I should say.
Hmm.
Yeah, but we're tight because like we're on the same wavelength because like we talk about like music or like I don't know, like this goes way back to high school where like everyone's like busy with gossip and all that, and like we're talking like there's a fine line between stupidity and pure intelligence. Like you're talking about like philosophy or like science or like religion. You
Yeah,
know, you wouldn't
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about that in a normal conversation for a normal high school grade student.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually like speaking of that, that is actually what because I am someone who usually ends up like delving into those topics when we
Oh
talk. I
really?
mean, every time we talk, we end up talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Me and me. But I also I've noticed that none of the people that I met in high school were able to. I'm not going to say we're able to keep up because that makes me seem like I think of myself as like higher than them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just like they're not able to communicate with me because I am not ahead of them, but we're just going in different directions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just different wavelengths.
And which is part of the reason why I never really cared about my social life in high school because I didn't really find value in it because I just if I try to find value, I would be forcing myself to find
Yeah.
value in something that I really don't care about, which is like I don't care about them talking about like the latest meme, right?
Yeah.
Unless I'm talking to like I would talk to you about the latest meme, right?
Yeah.
But that's because I feel like our relationship goes beyond just we talk during school, right? We're just actual friends. We talk about a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Not just the newest meme, but a lot of people might like growing up in high school only talked about the latest meme, nothing else. Which
Yeah.
is why most of my friends growing up, which this might be, a positive and might be a very big negative for some people, but most of my friends growing up were considerably older than me, right?
Oh,
Like
okay.
do you remember the friend group I told you about
Which
that I
one?
used to hang out with a lot? The one that I stopped talking to lately, like I
Oh,
just
yeah, that group.
we didn't see
Yeah.
eye to eye in a lot of things.
Yeah.
I met them when I was 14, and I think the first person that I started talking to was 17 at the time, right?
Okay.
No, actually, I was 13, they were 17 because they're 4 years older than me, and I know they
Okay.
were 17.
Yeah.
So one, a lot of people might see it as inappropriate, and honestly, in most cases, yes, it would be kind of inappropriate. I mean, a 17-year-old doesn't really have anything in common with a 13-year-old, and it's just kind of weird, right?
True.
But
True. Yeah.
if you if you're able to like connect on some level, I mean, sure, go ahead as long as you don't try anything weird with it. But
Yeah.
they were all considerably older than me, right?
Yeah.
And that's because being older, I found that they didn't always want to talk about the haha funny they found on like
Yeah,
on
face value.
TikTok.
You delved into the DNMs, deep and
Exactly, it's
meaningful
like
conversations.
exactly meaningful conversations. You can talk about things that make you think, things about things that make you think and feel, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, they challenge you, right? A lot of high, how they used to tell you don't get like yes men as friends, like people who just say yes to everything you do and agree with everything, but like people who challenge the way you think.
Yeah, okay.
But people in high school don't even care enough to challenge you or not. Because they like if you talk to them about something that can be challenged, they don't give a fuck because they care about how many kills they got in Fortnite, and that's it.
Kids these days. You and your V-Bucks. You know, back in my
Exactly.
days. Man. Speaking of.
Also,
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
you
go.
find out that a lot of people in high school are just straight up racist. So,
True, true. But speaking of racism,
what a great
I had
segue
to
point.
bring this up, man. We gonna get canceled for this.
Hell yeah, I'm ready
Oh
for
my
it.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh man, I don't know if I should bring it up. Fuck,
What is it?
like, like, it's like me saying there's no such thing as racism, but there is. But like, cultural appropriation. I don't like that term. You know
Yeah,
why?
me neither.
Cause there's only like one culture. That's the human culture. You're telling me there's aliens on this planet, man? Cause look at Jesus, right? Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
the image. They appropriate it into different cultures,
No, to me, right? Because to me, I do think there's a thing called cultural appropriation, right?
but it's
It's
just
just not what
misused.
a lot of people like attribute to it. Like a lot of people
Oh
think
yeah,
that me as a Hispanic person, if I wear a kimono, I'm culturally appropriating Japanese culture, right? But
yeah,
I'm not. I want to wear a fucking kimono. Let me be, right?
yeah.
But there was this thing where like Kim Kardashian like came out with this, she has like a fashion line or
Oh
whatnot.
yeah,
She came out with some kimonos. And so
yeah.
think about it. If fucking Kim Kardashian comes out with kimonos, a lot of kids are gonna think that kimonos are a thing that she invented, right? And to
True.
me, that could border in cultural appropriation because she's
Yeah,
basically making people think that she created something that was created by a different culture,
true.
Japanese culture.
Yeah,
At the same time, I also kind of see what you're saying, where it's like there's the human culture, because at the same time it's like yes, there's Japanese culture and like all this shit and like
yeah.
Chinese culture
Races
and
and
Indian
all. Yeah,
culture, but and every race has their own culture, and every
and
population has
subcultures.
their own
Yeah,
culture, but at the end of the day it's still a human process,
yeah,
right, by which those cultures are created. So anyone can adapt to those cultures without appropriating it, right? You can
yeah,
simply become part of that culture by
yeah.
appreciating it and involving yourself in it.
Man, I want to crack a joke right now, not regarding culture, but just something stupid.
What is it?
Like if you can, if you can change your genders, how come you can't appropriate cultures? Like, come on, man, that's a double standard. Like, come on, man. Like, fuck.
Honestly, no, you're onto something, because that shit is kind of bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. Because look, think about it like this, right?
Yeah, think about it.
Like, there's a whole conversation, which is mostly a meme, but it's a conversation about like transracialism, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
being
yeah,
transracial. Like,
yeah,
oh, if you can change your gender, why can't I just choose to be black? And there's a lot of argument for and against it.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's like a whole sensitive situation. But if you think about it, I mean, gender is something that for the longest time was believed to be biological,
logical.
and
Yeah.
a lot of people still attribute it to a not being biological, right, but
Mm.
being a direct connection, like a relation between your biological sex and your identity, and those things
Mm.
is what creates your gender. And so you
Yeah.
can't really be of a all these ideas. But
Mm.
culture is really only something that, because their reasoning behind transgender people is that gender is not biological, gender is in the brain, right?
Oh, okay.
So why isn't culture is something that is purely in the brain,
Yeah.
1000% of the brain, it doesn't exist anywhere else. So being transcultural is
Transracial,
definitely a thing that should be. I
transcultural.
mean,
Oh yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. True, true. It's
And
human.
to an
It's
extent,
human
it
nature.
is.
Yeah.
You know, to an extent, it is. I mean, if you go to like another country or whatnot that has like a completely different culture, and you acclimate to it, and you feel good, and that's how you feel comfortable, and you learn the culture and stuff, and you live in it, you are part of that culture, right?
True. Yeah, you
'Cause
can
you're
relate to that culture. You know, you can
exactly,
grow in that
exactly.
culture.
Which is the thing with like a lot of like immigrants in the U.S., like you know people who are like you
In
know
the
immigrant
ghetto.
parents or whatnot,
Yeah.
right? Is
Yeah.
like like for example, like Asian people who are, in my opinion, the ones who do this the most.
Yeah.
Who are like, you know, I'm Japanese, you know, this is my culture and stuff. It's like, no, that's not your culture. You grew up in America, and even if, right,
Yeah.
even if you grew up in your household with a very like let's say for example Chinese or Japanese centric culture, right?
Yeah.
Like everything that happened inside your house was Japanese, and you spoke Japanese in your household with your parents, you
Yeah.
still grew up in a different culture. You
Mm.
grew up
Agree.
because if you think about it, what really built you as up as a person? Just your interactions with your family, or was it mostly the interactions you have with the world around you, right?
Mm.
And the U.S. is a country that is a mix of cultures
It is.
everywhere
Yes.
you go.
Yes.
So you are not your culture is not Japanese. Your culture is American. And a lot of people are like American culture doesn't exist. I think it does. And I think the fundamental pillar of American culture is the fact that it's a combination of pretty much every culture. It's the culture of America is basically, and this is going to sound terrible, especially with the current political climate
Yeah.
that
Don't
is
worry, man.
definitely not
No one's
going
gonna watch
for
this. Like
equality.
when, like when. Oh my God, we go viral. Shit. Shut the shit up.
But like, you know, the social climate of the US is not exactly very inclusive to cultures,
Yeah.
but it is a mix of cultures. You can't deny that. You know, the
True.
US
You
is
can't deny that, bro.
definitely a boiling pot for cultures.
Yes. Agree.
So, and that is the culture. The culture is that it's a mix of cultures, right?
Yes.
And that is the culture that most people grow up in. And so if you're like an Asian American, like who was born in the US, maybe to immigrant parents, your culture is an American one.
Mm.
Your family's culture is Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Your family culture is Japanese, but your culture as an individual is American. That's why I always have a problem with like um anyone. It can be like Hispanics too. Like Hispanics do that a lot too, where they're like, I'm Mexican, this is my culture, and it's like, no, you're not. Your culture is American. The people who are born in Mexico and grew up in Mexican culture have a Mexican culture. You grew up in an American culture with a family who had a Mexican culture. Your culture is still not that though, right?
Yeah.
And you can't get canceled for that because I am Hispanic. All right,
Of course.
so fuck you if you try to cancel me. But yeah, but yeah, that's how it works, you know. Uh, yeah. How did we
Interesting.
get to this point?
I don't know, man. This is like fucking random. Who cares, bro? Oh man, council culture. Oh my gosh, so ironic.
What
Council
cancel culture?
culture. Yeah, a
Yeah.
culture that counsels. The culture that counsels.
Yeah,
Oh my
culture that
gosh,
strives
it's
for
like you
inclusivity
said
by
this. You
canceling
said
things
it
they don't
before,
like.
like where it's not about equality nowadays. Well, they say they're going for equality, but when in actuality, it's more like it's subverting like the power.
Yeah. The
It's like
status quo.
the status quo.
It's
Yeah.
literally exactly. It's just flipping things on its head. They don't want everyone to be equal. They want white people to be at the bottom, right? And
Yeah.
every other ethnicity to be at the top. Potentially, from what I've noticed, a lot of them, even though they might say they don't believe this, they act in a way that's really conductive to this type of like social environment
Yeah.
where not only are white people at the bottom, but I feel like they're working towards a society where everything is a hierarchy. So like, oh,
Oh, that's
you're a
ironic.
min yes, like you're a minority, but you weren't affected as much. So you're at the bottom. And then you're a
Yeah.
minority, but you were affected a little bit more. So you're at the top. And then you are a minority that was affected a lot. So you go at the
Yeah,
very
the
top,
hierarchy.
right?
It's ironic.
Exactly.
It's quite ironic. Sad to see,
Yeah,
man.
because you're literally reverting back time to where hierarchies were like the ruling factor in society. And sure, they still are, right?
Yeah, but
But
this
you're
is
trying
like
to
more
make it even more
extreme.
blatant. Exactly.
Yeah,
You're making it even more blatant. And honestly, damaging. Because the
it
current
is.
hierarchy we have, right? If you look at it, it's not white people over black people because society has moved past that.
Yeah, we've moved past that, man. Like,
This is the hierarchy is mostly people with money and power over people who don't. And it just so happens that the people with money and power sometimes push this agenda that is very, very similar to that white over minority
yeah,
agenda, right? But in
yeah.
reality, that's not the actual agenda of society because we've moved past that. The
Mm,
agenda is just people with power over people who don't have power.
yeah, I agree. But
But
man,
now with this new racial hierarchy, it's like, oh, blacks over Mexicans, over Asians, over white people. And it's like, that is not exactly very healthy.
yeah, man. I was, man. We're gonna get keep canceled with this shit, man. Fuck.
Ah, let them come. I don't give a fuck.
Did I tell you about my opinion about the N word?
You
I
might
did,
have
kind
mentioned
of.
it.
I mentioned it briefly, right?
Yeah.
Before. I don't understand why people. You know what? I'll tell you a story. Tell you a story, man. There
Hmm.
was this African kid. I had nothing against him. But like, do you know what the N word means? Like nigger. Like he's like,
Hmm.
no, what's that? It means African slave. And I'm like in my head, look, man. I'm like in my head thinking this. I'm like, how is he an African slave? If I say the N word, does that mean he's an African slave? He's not an African slave. No one's a slave. Like, like slave, like tradition in the traditional sense of what it was in, like, say for example, 400 years ago. You know.
Hmm.
But I agree that there is to an extent where we are technically living as slaves in a society because it's just through paperwork. You know, it's more subtle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. 100%. Slavery is real. It's just not targeted,
Yeah,
um, and very subtle.
yeah, it's through
Um,
paperwork nowadays.
but I feel like slave. This is gonna sound terrible. Slavery is necessary for society, but I don't mean the type of slavery that black people went through. I mean like
Master
that
slave
type of like
dynamic.
subtle slavery that society goes through, like almost
Yeah,
like a cycle, is necessary
yeah,
for
I
this
agree.
type of society to thrive. Not the other type of slavery. That other type of slavery
Yeah,
is not necessary. Black people don't hate me. I don't think that's good. But
yeah,
here's the thing, right?
yeah,
Um, like when it comes to like the N word and stuff,
yeah,
I feel like a lot of people are like, you're not black, you don't have an opinion on this. You do, because at the end of the day, it's a social issue,
yeah,
and it's a human issue too.
yeah,
You know, but do I feel like white people, for example, like giving their opinions on the N word, can like speak on behalf of black people and like how they feel? No, right? But you can definitely speak on the impact it has, and you can definitely speak on whether or not it is morally correct, right?
yeah,
I personally, I think that it's just a word,
yeah. Same.
but because it's just a word, it could be left behind, and no one
Yeah,
needs to say it because it's just a word. It's nothing special, so you don't need
yeah,
to say it. So just stop saying it.
yeah,
But that being said, I don't believe that anyone, like if you're having like an educational, intellectual conversation, right? Like an academic
yeah.
conversation.
Academic
I
conversation.
don't think you should shy away from saying it because at the end of the day, it is what you're talking about,
It
right?
is
If
what
you're
it
scared of
is.
what you're talking about, you shouldn't be talking about it. Don't be scared of it. If you
It's just a
say
word.
it while you exactly, if you're saying while you're like, if you're saying it while you're talking about its impact, right? You can say it. You're not attacking anyone, right? You're
Yeah,
not oppressing anyone. You're simply talking about something that is very real. And the more you run from it, the more you're running away from the solution.
true. Which brings me to my next point, because it's what they call semantic change. It's a linguistic term,
Yeah,
where like the meaning changes over time. It's like
yeah,
how racism used to mean like how one race is superior to another, but now it's like different. It just means you're discriminating against another race or something like that.
exactly.
And I don't get why people say white people can't be racist or you can't be racist to white people. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard, man. You can be
Yeah, by
racist to white.
definition, you can be fucking racist.
Stupid, man.
1000%.
Man.
But yeah, speaking of semantics, in semantic change, you can have a positive, a negative, and a neutral change, right?
Yeah, yeah, true. Of
And
course.
and honestly, I mean, undoubtedly, the N word was a very, very negative term, right?
Yes, I agree.
But over time, it's had a semantic shift towards a neutral, right?
Yeah.
Where people use it as friend, people use it as this. It means nothing really. It means the same thing as homie. It really
Yeah.
means jack shit. But
Yeah.
some people still attribute that negative like meaning to it, which is what pushes the idea that it's still a negative, you
Yeah.
know? Um I mean, marijuana used to be a really bad word, but no one fucking knows it now because no one gives a fuck, right? So it just I don't know. I do think it needs to be. I mean, addressed a little bit less and like with less bias, that
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, transcultural to semantic change. What a what
Yeah.
a topic to change. What else? Oh my gosh. What else is there to talk about, man? Oh my gosh. Oh man, there's so much to talk about. I just can't think right now. There's so much in my mind. What about
Yeah, it
you,
was a
Joe?
pretty fucking packed conversation.
What? Do you have something to contribute or add to that, or something?
Uh,
Something
nah.
you want to get off your chest, or something you'd like to say, or
Um,
it could be
I
anything.
don't. Nah. I mean, nah. I mean, I have to get something off my chest, and is I really need to watch Spider-Man, like right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wait, let's go back to that topic, please, please. Let's go back to the. Let's go back to something less serious stuff.
Wait, Spider-Man, fucking amazing, isn't it?
No, no. Oh yeah, it is. But yeah, the human aspect, I like that. They kind of done it with is it I don't know if that's the name of the show from Amazon Prime, The Boys or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they focused on the human elements of these incredibly powerful superheroes, and the other one was no the other Amazon Prime show, but it was a cartoon. I think it was what was it called again? The one where it's like Omni Man or something.
I don't remember the name of the
That meme
show.
where like think Mark think.
I think I know what you're talking about though. Yeah. But I
Yeah,
did not remember the name of the show.
yeah, I couldn't remember the name of the show, but
But it's
it's
something like The Boys, right?
yeah,
Which I feel
it's
like is the same situation with like Superman and Clark Kent.
yeah,
It's like they show you a human side to him, but I don't know. Clark Kent doesn't feel like a human to me. He's just an alien in disguise, basically, right? Someone trying to
basically,
act human.
yeah,
Because if I know that this one, even like look, Batman.
yeah,
Batman's just a dude with no powers,
yeah,
but I
agreed.
can't fucking relate to him. Not
Because
only
he's
because
rich.
he's a fucking billionaire, right? But also
Yeah,
because he doesn't act like most
someone you'd
people do.
yeah,
He acts like some his life, right?
yeah,
Even as a human, is basically revolves around being himself. And sure, in the comics, he might be, it might be more of like a dad trying to take care of his children type situation, and he
yeah,
actually has a life and is trying to juggle with it. But at the end of the day, it's basically like a story, a good story about a human who about a no, a good story about a superhero who's also a dude, right?
yeah,
But but Spider-Man is about a story about a superhero who's just like you. He's not just a man, right? He's not just a human. He is just like you, right?
yeah,
This dude, Spider-Man, struggles to pay rent. This dude, Spider-Man, while he's like out there fighting crime, he's probably thinking about like, like shit, my rent is due, I have to pay it. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna get evicted. Or like, oh, where am I gonna crash tonight? You know?
Yeah.
I think Stan Lee mentioned that he's a superhero that while he's fighting crime, he might have an allergy, you know, and he might not be able to go fight crime some days because Aunt May doesn't want him to go out because it's cold and he doesn't have any warm clothes, right? Stuff
Yeah.
like that. He's very human. He's just a dude. When you look at Clark Kent, you don't see someone who's just like me, right? You don't
Yeah.
point at the screen. You're like, he's just like me. You just, oh, he has a normal human life now, I guess, right? But I can't relate to it at all,
Yeah.
right? But honestly, I can't think of a single human on this planet who can't relate to Peter Parker in some way, at least, right? In some way. Everyone can relate to Peter Parker because he is just the ultimate dude. He's just a dude with superpowers, not a superhero with a normal life.
True. I agree. And just to add, but not regarding Spider-Man, going back to Batman, how is Batman so smart and so rich? Yeah, he can't beat a clown. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah,
just
bro, this
say
dude goofy
something,
as
bro.
fuck.
Come on, man. You can't
Kill
beat
him,
a
bro.
clown. Like, come on, man. Meanwhile, like Spider-Man, like what you said, he's like he's even though he may be a superhero, he he's like everyone. They go through
Yeah.
struggle, they go through trials, they go through pain, and then and that relates to everyone, like life. You go through
Yeah.
pain, you go through
And
struggle.
even if you look at the one common thing that Batman and Spider-Man shares that they don't kill people, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
In theory, because Batman, I mean, he does some shit that, I mean, if you don't want to kill someone, I wouldn't exactly be doing that, right?
yeah,
But they do it in different ways, and one is relatable, one is very sensationalized.
yeah,
Batman does it because it's basically like almost like a philosophical point that he keeps pushing, right? And he's like, I don't kill people. It's part of his code of honor. Is like
yeah,
this sensationalized thing, right?
yeah.
Spider-Man just does it because he's a normal dude. He doesn't want blood in his hands, right? And he sees that he can just, web them to a wall, right? And wait for the police to come for them. It's not
Mm,
this like deeply philosophical thing where he's like, I don't kill people. He just doesn't because that's not the type of person he is, right?
mm, yeah.
Batman needs to justify it with this philosophy and all this bullshit, right? When it's like,
Yeah.
shut up, you know. Also, another great thing about Spider-Man is which they showed, especially in the movies. I feel and in the Raimi trilogy and in the MCU, I feel like they did the most. I mean, the Andrew trilogy is just on some bullshit, but it's it's the aspect of Spider-Man that
Compelling,
is no, I forgot what I was gonna say.
relatable.
No, wait. It's what's the word? What was I gonna say? Hold up.
Okay, let's backtrack.
Oh yeah. With the super villains, right? With the
Oh
villains,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's not trying to defeat them, right? In
Just
most of
trying to
these, you
understand them.
find that he's trying to understand them and help them, right?
Mm,
Like
yeah.
in the Raimi trilogy, you can highlight three villains, right?
Oh
Green
yeah, true.
Goblin,
I know now. Yes, I
yeah,
agree.
Doctor Octopus, and
Or
then
Green Goblin,
Venom,
or
Sandman, right?
yeah,
And if you look at it, I mean, Green Goblin was like a father figure to him for a little bit, right?
yeah.
And then he didn't want to kill him. He actually ended up killing himself by trying to kill Peter, right?
True.
Spider Man
Yeah.
didn't want that to happen, right? He was
It was an
trying to
accident.
understand him and trying to get him to understand the type of person that he could be if he decided to go down another path. With Dr. Octopus, he was trying to help him understand that this is not who he is and that he needs to be responsible with his intelligence, just like he
Yeah.
told him. And with Venom, right? It's
Yeah.
mostly a thing about him trying to save Eddie, not Venom, because Venom is this mindless creature. He's
Yeah.
trying to save Eddie
Eddie.
Brock. And then with Harry, he doesn't have anything against Harry. Harry ends up killing himself to protect Peter. And then in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
If you look at villains like Vulture, Spider-Man, he knows Vulture like he tries to have conversations with him, right? Not always
Yeah.
trying to punch him. He's trying to have a conversation with him, and then at the end, when that conversation doesn't work, he still saves his life because he doesn't want him dead. He wants him better, right?
Yeah.
So he saves him so he can be better. He can respond for his crimes, but he can learn from them. And then
Mm.
Mysterio, with the whole Mysterio thing, it's the same thing. He's not trying to kill Mysterio. He's trying to save himself, but also find a way that Mysterio can be better,
Better.
right?
Yeah.
And in No Way Home, in the trailers that we've seen, because I haven't watched the movie, right?
Yeah.
We can clearly tell that he is trying to help the villains, right? Not in like
True.
he's trying to become bad with them. He's trying
Of
to
course.
help them,
Understand it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not trying to kill them. He's not trying to defeat them. He's trying to help them
Yeah.
change, right? And that's a
Yeah.
good thing about Spider-Man because he's not, if you're a superhero, it's not always about, and here's the thing. Here's the thesis of a superhero, not just Spider-Man, but a superhero.
Yeah. Superhero.
It's not about defeating villains. The job of a superhero is saving people, right? Which
Yes.
is amazing the
Yeah.
way they show it in the movies and the games and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
like for example, for example, the train scene, the famous train scene from Spider-Man 2, right?
Oh, of course.
In that scene, he's not like when he's actually holding the train, he's no longer trying to fight Dr. Octopus.
He's trying to
He's
save.
trying to save people.
Yeah.
In Homecoming, right?
Yeah.
When he accidentally causes the ship to like split in two.
Mhm.
He like the actual fight with Vulture inside the ship lasts for like 2 seconds, right? And the
Mhm.
rest of that entire sequence is him trying to save people, him saving the ship, him almost risking his life by holding the ship together until Iron Man shows up and kind of just shits on everything he did. But it focuses on Spider-Man saving people, not Spider-Man beating villains. A superhero's job is not to defeat bad guys; it's to help good guys, right? To save innocent people. and
Yes.
and that is something that Spider-Man focuses on a lot by being the
Yeah.
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, making sure everyone is safe, making sure the quality of life in his neighborhood is good, in his city is good, right? That's why New
Yes.
York is New York is as important to Spider-Man as Spider-Man is to New York, right?
Yeah.
Like in order to have Spider-Man, you need to
Yeah.
have Peter and New York. Those two things need to happen because that is what he's protecting,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the job of a superhero, which is why the Avengers, well, they're amazing, super cool. Love the fucking movies.
Yeah.
They're not exemplary superheroes
Of
because they
course.
focus on killing bad guys and not saving people, which is a thing that is sort of kind of addressed in Civil War with the whole like, in order, in fighting all these people, we ended up destroying the fucking city, right?
Yeah.
But even though it sort of addresses it, it doesn't really explore it, right? Because
Oh yeah.
the
True.
re-
True. Yeah.
the real reflection of the movie kind of tries to make is that
The
they're
repercussions.
exactly they by doing this they're causing more problems than they're actually solving them, and so they need to be regulated. But I feel like the real issue that should have been tackled in the movie is we are focusing too much on killing bad guys and not enough on saving people, right?
True.
And that would have been an amazing like straight up reflection in the movie because that is what a superhero is supposed to be,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed. My gosh. God damn, you hit the nail on the head on that one.
I love Spider-Man, bro.
But yeah, I totally agree with you because most of these days people are just cashing in. Well, not most, but like I think some,
Hmm.
like, well, most, like, to some extent, like, they're following the trend because of the success of the Avengers and all that. Because it's
Yeah.
all flashy and all that, the action scenes and all the fight scenes. But I think what you're focusing on is the values learned and how you can
Yeah,
improve yourself,
exactly. Why superheroes are important.
to people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not because they save you from aliens. It's because they teach you
A
a
valuable
righteous
lesson.
way of living, you
Yeah.
know? Living for other people,
True.
being
Yeah.
valuable to the community by doing your part, right?
Yeah.
Not killing an alien. And this is not me shitting on the Marvel movies. I
Oh
love
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
MCU. I
Same.
think they're
I agree.
brilliant representations of the characters. I think they're amazing stories. I think Thanos is an amazing character. It's just at its core, a superhero is supposed to be what Spider-Man has always been, and I just feel like the MCU didn't quite treat Spider-Man the way they should have.
Yeah.
Again, that's not me. Also, that's not me shitting on Spider-Man or Tom Holland. I think he does an amazing job of portraying Spider-Man. And I love the movies, the Homecoming and Far From Home, and I'm sure I'm gonna fucking adore No Way Home. But
Yeah.
but it's just me saying that they need to really treat Spider-Man right. And I feel like Tom Holland, based on what I've heard, he
Yeah.
really knows where Spider-Man is supposed to be heading. But is
Uh-huh.
Disney and Sony and
Oh
Marvel
yeah, they're
who
pushing the agenda.
exactly who have a different idea of where Spider-Man should go. But Tom Holland 100% knows where Spider-Man should go. Like and Zendaya too.
Oh yeah.
They actually because look, so Tom Holland pitched this idea for like a more Peter Parker centric film where
Oh
it's
really?
not yeah, where it's not so
About.
much about Spider-Man but more about Peter Parker,
Oh.
which is basically what we got in Spider-Man 2, which is what makes Spider-Man 2 so great because you're able to see that the human, right? The
Yes.
Peter Parker,
Peter
which is
Parker. Yeah.
very important to Spider-Man. And
Yeah.
so that idea is great. And Zendaya also pitched an idea for making like a show about the teachers at his high school. And then maybe like, like Peter and MJ can do cameos and stuff. And to me that's brilliant. You know why? A
Why?
show, not a movie. Because like I said, New York is just as important to Spider-Man as Peter Parker is to Spider-Man. And
Yeah.
so by creating a show where you're just highlighting the normal lives of the people from New York,
You're
you are
showcasing the
creating
world.
life. You are
Yeah.
creating New York, which is one of the most important play pieces when it comes to Spider-Man. There's
Mm.
two, Peter Parker and New York City. And you're building on Peter Parker, but you also need to build up the other one to have a complete Spider-Man, and that show would be the best way to do it.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about a lot today.
We did, man. Do you want anything else to add, or should we end it here? Because we're reaching the what's it called?
I mean,
One
I
hour
think
20 mark. It's like one
I
hour
think that's a
17.
good ending point for this.
Yeah.
We do have to make that episode when fucking No Way Home comes
Oh
out and we watch
yes,
it though.
definitely. I gotta watch it as well. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna talk about No Way Home.
Oh my gosh. I'll wrap it up. And thanks everyone for watching. Hope you liked it. Dislike it. If you dislike it, well, you can't see it anyways because YouTube took it down. But anyways,
Yeah.
anyways, see you guys.